on or not on? Yes.
You're on plumbing.
You're on there.
I'm on there, all right. It is 6:01, so I will call our regular city council meeting to order. It is Tuesday, February the 18th, 2020, at 465 South Main Street, Jasper, Texas. Hazel, can I ask you to give our opening prayer?
Our gracious Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for this day, Lord. Lord, we give you thanks for the privilege of being able to worship you and thank you for all the things you bless us with, dear Lord. We ask you for your blessing over this meeting, Lord, and to make choices that are pleasing to you, Lord. Forgive us our sins this day and go with us, Lord. And we thank you in Jesus' holy name. Amen.
Amen. Want to welcome everyone to our meeting. It appears it will be probably not that long in length, but every item is important. Am I speaking into the microphone pretty good? Well, she's not paying any attention. And here I'm speaking into the microphone.
I'm sorry, I was not paying attention.
That's all right.
Yes, I can hear you, and thank you.
Nobody ever pays attention to me. I'm used to that.
Thank you.
I will commend to our council members the information from the SRMPA and the departmental reports, including the one from the electrical department that was comprised by Mr. Wade, but Mr. Wellman is here to answer any questions we might have, correct? Welcome aboard, sir.
I see Danny's taught you well. We're not in the middle.
Do we have anyone on public comments?
Yes.
Okay. Then before we start, I will congratulate those candidates who have filed to become a member of the city council. There were two that will not be opposed, but we do have one council member that will get the privilege of running. So we wish you good luck, and we'll address that a little later in the meeting. We'll take action item number 1, consider the set of minutes from the January 21st, 2020 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and second for the approval of the council minutes from the meeting on January 21st, 2020. Are there any questions? If not, all in favor signify by the usual sign of voting. Motion carries, it's unanimous. Number 2, consider presentation of the city audit report fiscal year ending September 30th, 2019.
Mayor Council, this is Mrs. Shelby Lackey. She is a partner with Weaver, and she is our auditor.
How's everybody this evening?
Great.
Good.
I'm hoping we're out of here before the rain gets really bad.
Yeah.
Everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
In front of you, you should have a bound city annual financial report. I'll point you to a few pages. You're welcome to ask questions along the way. I'll do what I can to answer them and defer to Denise if I need to. On page, it's never page 1, page 5 is the independent auditor's report. There you can see that we issued a clean opinion, which is what you'd like to hear, an unmodified opinion on the city's financial statements, meaning we did not see material misstatements in the numbers. It is in accordance with governmental auditing standards and generally accepted accounting principles. A lot of verbiage there, but that's really what it says. A few pages back, you'll see management's discussion and analysis. That's a very high level of what happened at the city through 9/30/19. Then over another couple pages, you'll start with page 19. 19 is the statement of net position for the city. You see this page and the next page, page 20, one time a year. Those are government-wide financial statements that are full accrual basis across the whole entity. That is required by GASB 34 and done just one time a year. You can see the city's governmental activities had $22.5 billion in assets, mainly your long-term assets such as capital, things in the ground, building, roads, things of that nature. You had some pension activities, some long-term liabilities of 6.7 million. Mainly there, you can see the increase is your OPEB and pension liabilities that were required to be put into place a few years ago. So you've seen those now for at least a few years.
That's on page 20.
On 19, excuse me. So you can see at the bottom of page 19, 16.8 billion in net position. That is not the same thing as fund balance. So when Denise talks to you about fund balance on a monthly basis, that is not the same equivalent. This has a different measurement focus, a long-term measurement focus for long-term assets. Your business type activities, you can see there had 53.1 million in net position, which are measured similarly at the fund level and at the government-wide level. And then you can see the component unit for Jasper Economic Development Corporation as well. On page 20, it's a little bit different format than you would normally look at a business. GASB tried to say, can the city operate on its own, revenues that are provided by a service, your charges and operations, instead of having to have property tax and sales tax. And you can see here under governmental activities on page 22, 6.8 million is in the negative, and that tells you that you do need those property tax revenues and sales tax to help accomplish that. Page 22 is the city's balance sheet for governmental funds. You can see there the general fund of the city, your main operating account, 6.3 million in assets, mainly cash and equivalents, and some restricted cash. You can see liabilities of about $1 million, mainly accounts payable and due to other funds. Unavailable property taxes in court for $184,000, resulting in fund balance of $5 million. Of that, you have some restricted and designated amounts, resulting in $400,000 of unrestricted fund balance, unassigned fund balance. The debt service fund is where you set aside property tax revenues to pay down any debt you have. You can see there's 1.2 million mainly in cash, some small property tax receivables, small payable to other fund, unavailable property taxes of 91,000, resulting in fund balance restricted for debt service of 1.1 million, almost 1.2 million.
We have, you're saying it's, property taxes, this is the 91,016? Can you explain it?
Unavailable property
Yeah,
taxes.
can you explain
So
it?
that is as of
Is it
nine,
arrears?
yes, as of 9/30/19, those have not been collected.
Out of how many?
Out of the total, excuse me,
Out of 1 million
Have that, right under $1 million
right under.
for property tax for debt service.
You can see the capital projects fund is where you set aside your money to pay for bond activities, your construction projects, and I believe you guys have made some significant transfers over to help fund those capital projects as well. At year end, you were in a deficit of $133,000, which the city had already planned on transferring some funds over there to cover that. Page 24. You can see your statement of activities, or excuse me, your statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance for the year. The general fund had 6.1 million in revenues. Mainly you can see sales tax and charges for services there. You can see expenditures of 10 million, mainly your public safety. You had a net transfers into the general fund of 4.4 million, resulting in a slight increase in fund balance by 523,000. Debt service fund, you can see the property tax collections of 378,000, mainly sales tax of $1 million, resulting in 1.4 million in revenues. You made your required debt payments and interest payments, reducing debt service by 373,000. You can see capital projects fund had some slight earnings, and you paid out capital outlay to do construction projects.
The investment earned under debt service fund, 6,880, what's that?
That is mainly your interest earnings on those investment, the cash and cash equivalents that are there. Mainly interest earnings. You can see on page 26, you have your statement of net position for your proprietary funds. The first column is water and sewer. You can see there you had total assets of 16.8 million. Of that, the majority is capital projects, capital assets of 14.6 million. That would be infrastructure, pipes, lines, wells, things of that nature. You had total liabilities of $1.6 million. The main liabilities there again are pension and OPEB, as you would expect, resulting in 15.5 million in that position. Lighting and power had overall 40.3 million in assets, 4.8 million in capital assets. Main assets there are in investments, your cash and cash equivalents. Liabilities of 1.7 million, again, pension and OPEB for the most part. On page 22, you can see your statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in that position.
What page, I'm sorry?
22?
27,
Oh, you said
You
22.
said 20.
I did, sorry.
You were saying if we were listening.
That's right, that's what I was testing it. 27. On page 27, you can see water and sewer brought in 3.5 million, mainly water sales and sewer sales. You had expenditures of 3.4 million, pretty much across the board. You brought in, overall, before other transfers and the like, you brought in 76,000. You had some proceeds from, insurance for claims, investment earnings, contributions from grants, net transfers out to other funds, resulting in a decrease in net position of 234,000. Lighting and power similarly had 21.2 million in revenues, mainly power. You can see 12.5 million in expenditures, mainly power production. Overall, you added $4.7 million to the bottom line, while transferring out about 4.5 million to other funds to cover mainly capital projects. The notes of the financial statements did not change significantly this year. In the last few years, we've added 5 and 7 pages for different notes, but for the most part this year, there were no significant changes. A couple years down the road, you'll see some leasing changes if you're leasing any significant properties or equipment, those type, that will be a new GASB statement to come out in the near future, but nothing significant there. The one thing that did get added to the footnotes this year was the activity regarding Jasper United and the joint venture, which is on page 56 if you were interested in seeing that at all. 56. That's where you all are sharing in that project with JEDCO for Jasper United. No other significant changes in the financial statements this year. You can see on the back on page 79, if you were to leave here today and you thought somebody might ask you how your audit went, this would be your page to look at.
What page is that?
79. You can see we issued an unmodified opinion over the city's financial statements, which is a clean opinion, that's what you wanna hear. We did not see any material weaknesses in the financial statements, but we did note an opportunity or two for controls to be increased. One of which was repeated from prior year, which we talked about the city basically relying on us to help draft the financial statements of the city, and there mainly you would have to go and find someone with those same expertise, and at this point in time, we don't see where it outweighs the cost of doing so. And that's always a discussion you and Denise can have on an annual basis, but as far as we can tell, it doesn't benefit the city at this point to do that. We did see another issue this year. It was just a non-compliance compliance with collateral being pledged. And, you all have already moved those funds on to another financial institution, and so that has been remediated as well. Any questions anybody might have?
Something that Miss Kelly and I learned from, we attended the monthly meeting of SRMPA today. We had the financial report, the functional report presented there, and I learned a new term, the unmodified. The unmodified means that's good as it gets.
That's good, yeah, that is good as it gets. It sounds absolutely terrible. It used to be called, I don't even remember what it used.
Qualified or?
Yeah, unqualified, which even sounds crazy, but it is a clean opinion, that's what you do wanna hear. And we issue an audit opinion, which is the highest level of assurance that you can receive. I would like to say thank you to Denise and Robbie, and I know Mary, I drove her crazy this year, but, we appreciate, the hospitality we get when we come. Your auditor is not always a very well-liked person in the room, and we do thank them for their hospitality and having everything ready for us, and, making our life easy when we get here. So, we do appreciate it. I think I drove y'all a little nuts this year, but.
Well, I didn't believe a word they said about it.
You didn't? I don't know, there might be a little bit of truth to it. Any questions anybody else might have? No? Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you for your motion.
Thank you very much. Felicia, working down with me.
Probably should.
Thank you.
We have a motion made by Mr. McMillan to approve the report as just tendered.
Second.
Have a motion and second. Are there any questions? All in favor signify by the usual sign of voting. Motion carries, it's unanimous. Number 3, consider ordinance 2-18-20 regarding itinerant merchants.
Mayor, this is just an update from, that we have, made it more clean as far as what we are charging itinerant merchants. What, basically, they are identifying locally grown merchants or items, which means what's grown within Jasper County, stating that they really can turn around and go pick up some watermelons from Louisiana and bring them over here and not be charged a fee for them. And also it reduces the fee. We had a flat fee of a $300 one, which whether you come in for a day or come in for a week. And we went back and redesigned it to where they just come in for a weekend, it's $5 a day. And it's more reasonable to what we do. And they also specify that you cannot go and buy items and bring them in as new items and sell them at a garage sale. To where people have, in the past, have come through and put a garage sale out for 3 or 4 days, cover it up with a tent, and come back the next weekend and start it. That's something that we prevented, it just because it's not, people complain in the neighborhoods because the people are parking in their neighborhoods and the streets, blocking their thing for an ongoing business for a 3-day weekend. So it was just something that it was just updated.
So we need approval.
Second.
We have a motion by Hazel for approving of the ordinance and a second by Mr. Schofield. Are there any questions? If not, all in favor signify by the usual sign of voting. Motion carries, it's unanimous. Number 4, consider from the offices of David J. Waxman, Inc., the CDBG disaster recovery infrastructure only and item stated. Is Mr. Waxman or someone here?
Now, these are the ones that we, 2 months ago, y'all approved the same set, and it's because of every grant that we do, even though it's a blanket across the board, we have to present them to you on a grant by grant.
Yeah, I'm just like that, didn't we just do this?
Yes, sir, we did.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
So
confirm.
can we do all 3 at one time?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to
Consider,
approve.
consider all 3. We have Mr. McMillan, is that a second?
Yes, second.
Have a motion and second for the approval of the contract for administrative services for the city of Jasper, 20-065-031-C101, grant for the Hurricane Harvey project, resolution 2979 and resolution 2980. Are there any questions? If not, all in favor signify by the usual sign of voting. Motion carries, it's unanimous. Number 5, Chief Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I'm coming to you to address something that we talked about a couple of years ago, and never really got it rolling. This is kind of to play catch up on some of it. We're needing to purchase 2 patrol vehicles. Now, we have 5 vehicles that's over between 110 and 130,000 miles. Now, that's not really that much per se for a family car. These vehicles are drove in an aggressive manner, so they wear down quicker. And if you take a patrol car that's got 110,000 miles on it, well, you can add about half that again on the engine for when it's setting out on wrecks or out on calls, etc. Long story short, we're in need of replacing 2 to get us kind of backed up to where we need them. Back in the line of keeping cars that ain't gonna break down on us. We got a quote, 99,000, that's totally rigged for 2. It's not to say next budget I won't come with my hand out again. Like I say, we have 5 that's over 100,000, then we got 2 or 3 that's like 90 and 80,000. So it's gonna be an ongoing thing, to try to keep us in decent vehicles where they're not wearing out and staying in the shop. Yes, sir.
Didn't we pass some kind of ordinance where we were gonna get rid of our cars at 100,000 miles, that there was quite a market for it?
That's what we had talked about a couple of years ago. Actually, it was in 2016, but we never got it going. This past year, y'all know how the budget was. We did have vehicles in the capital, you know how that all worked out. But so basically, we're trying to get a little bit back. In the budget, I had 2 patrol cars and a mental health car, just a regular little mid-sized car. Well, she's transporting to Houston and San Antonio and taking mental patients. And it has to be unmarked, can't be a patrol car with markings on it. So we're just gonna see about getting just a mid-sized car for her. Something better on gas, and it ain't gotta have all the bells and whistles, just a camera and a cage. But we'll address that again next budget. We're just trying to get a little bit to keep us from getting too far behind.
You need to replace 2 vehicles.
Yes.
You need to replace 2 vehicles.
Yes, sir.
How many vehicles do you really need? Are you just coming to ask for 2, but you really need 5?
Well, alright, I can get by with 2 because, the 5, part of that is, in the detective division. Some of the 40,000 miles, and they're not under the same, stress that the patrol car is. The patrol cars are the one that are most strenuous and more important than the detective car.
They're utilized more, they're out on the street more than
But
protected.
they're drove a lot.
Well, they're not driven the same way.
Same way.
They're not doing hard U-turns and accelerating and high speed and all that. They're more calmed down. So the plan is, ask for these 2. And then we'll look at it next budget as to getting the program rolling to where we'll maybe get a couple a year until we get everything lined out. If I remember right, the way we had it, every 4 years, we would be able to skip a year and still stay under that 100,000 where you could auction them off if you wanted to and get a good trade-in or a good price for them.
That's what I remember.
That was the original plan.
How many vehicles do we have in the fleet total, is it?
Now, in patrol, there's 8.
Okay.
Then we have 3 CID, and then there's 2 lieutenant, a captain, and mine. And then we have the SRO and the crime scene. And like I say, the patrol ones are the important ones.
So we have 8
In patrol,
in patrol?
Yes.
That's what I mean, the ones that are,
most of the others are handed down, like the CSI one is like a 2006 model. But she basically just goes to crime scenes around town.
These 2 that you're asking for are gonna fulfill, they're gonna be in the patrol section?
Yes.
And this is where you have 5 already that are between 100 and 130,000?
No, that's, the 5 is counting CID.
No.
We, in the overall fleet, we have 5.
You see, you have like 3 of them, it's like 80, 90,000.
We have, I can tell you,
Are those the Tahoes, the Navy Tahoes, the 3 CIDs? I mean,
yeah, they're Tahoes. In the patrol, we have 2 more that's at 81,000, a couple more at 75 and 79,000. And then a couple at 30, around 40, 39,000, 40,000.
These 2 vehicles you want, are they gonna be Tahoes or passenger cars?
The Tahoes.
Okay.
Just like, we've had good luck with them. They get good gas mileage. They got plenty of room. We looked at pricing expeditions. Explorers. They're more of a mid-size. There ain't much room in them. But we found that evidently they are become more popular, so they cost more than the Tahoe. So, and not to mention, the big fella won't fit in there. There ain't hardly no room in the back
Is
of
it
the
an
Tahoe.
Explorer or Expedition?
Sir? The
Explorer.
Explorer.
Explorers, not much room inside.
Well, even these Tahoes, once you put the cage and them form seats, a big fella, you have a hard time getting him in the back of it. And, there just ain't no room till you put all that equipment in there. But that's as good as it gets, you know?
So, an Explorer,
Yeah, you'd be
really.
bad. You'd have to lay him in the seat, try to figure out the seat belt. But that's what I'm asking for, and,
Is that really all you need? I guess was my question. If you need more,